Hi everyone, I'm Princess Link, and welcome back to Metal Gear Solid 2. Oh, you're just being dumb. Stop, please. Chapter 33. Are you awake yet, Jack? Raiden heard Solidus's voice, but he wasn't sure if he was dreaming or not. He'd been out cold, but for how long? He felt the breeze, damp air, chilling wind. The surface he was lying on was wet. It was raining. His vision was blurred, but he could see Solidus standing before him. Raiden knew it was him because he still wore tentacles. He shook his head. Whatever it was Solidus had injected him with was beginning to wear off, but he still felt hazy. Raiden looked around. He was no longer in the big room. He was outside. Solidus stood in front of him. To the side was one of the Metal Gear Vays. No, it wasn't one of the Arsenal Vays. It was the one he'd seen during the Harrier battle. The prototype. The Vay that Ocelot had stolen 2 years earlier. Revolver Ocelot himself stood by the Vay's foot. Raiden turned his head and saw Fortune standing next to Snake, who was lying face down with his hands cuffed behind his back. He, too, must have been drugged. Raiden looked up and saw a dark, stormy sky vein. He felt movement, choppy sailing. They were on top of Arsenal Gear. The gigantic war machine had surfaced and was moving across the river. It was the middle of the night or early morning before sunrise. Raiden couldn't tell. Solidus spoke again. GW, the Arsenal AI, is corrupted beyond repair. I admit that I underestimated you. A tentacle whipped out, grabbed Raiden by the throat, and lifted him up again. I'll squeeze the answers out of you instead, my son. Raiden couldn't breathe. He struggled helplessly as he dangled in the air. What do you hope to hear? Fortune asked. You know he doesn't know anything. It's not him I want answers from. Solidus continued to choke the operative for a few more seconds and then released him. Raiden fell to Arsenal's hole with a crash. The young man gasped and gulped a lungful of air. He coughed and wheezed in torment. What do you mean? Fortune asked. That's not your business. Oh really? It just so happens I have some business of my own to attend to. She turned to leave. Planning to hijack Arsenal? Solidus asked. The woman stopped dead in her tracks. You were planning to screw me over, weren't you? Fortune whirled around. Who talked? Ocelot? Not exactly. I was the one who used Ocelot to suggest the idea to you in the first place. What? I was planning to give you Arsenal to begin with. She sneered. Why the uncharacteristic generosity? I'm no philanthropist. Arsenal's far from impregnable. It needs other Metal Gears as guards, a huge payload of warheads, and full air, sea, and land support to function efficiently. Against a gigantic attack force. Without support, Arsenal's nothing more than a gigantic coffin. Seizing Arsenal Gear was never the real objective. Fortune struggled to contain her fury. What was your objective then? A list of names of the Patriots. Huh? They were planning to extend the control of the digital information flow with the GW and Arsenal. That means the information they want to filter out is contained in GW, including a list of the 12 highest members of the Patriots Wise Man's Committee. And once you knew who they were, you would cross out the names one by one, while we with the useless Arsenal drew their fire. Very good. Very good. Fortune said through her teeth. You were using us all along. Were you any different? But your plan's hit a snag with GW destroyed, hasn't it? No, there's another way. Really. But we have our own plans to carry out. We'll take the Arsenal since you don't care for it anyway. The purified hydrogen bomb's ready to go. A nuclear strike won't stop them. It'll damage their power source, the mindless masses that they control. First things first. Of course, that was what you wanted. I won't stop you. Good luck. Thanks, Fortune said with irony. But I have quite enough of that. Ocelot laughed. What exactly do you find so funny? She asked the gunslinger, unable to mask the hatred in her voice. Nobody likes Ocelot. Shade's usually humorous. I wouldn't have minded watching some more of it. But we're running a little short on time. This time it was Solidus who turned to him. What are you talking about? Ocelot shrugged. Everything you've done here has been scripted. A little exercise set up by us. Exercise? The S3 plan was conceived as a means to produce soldiers on par with Solid Snake. That's what I told you. But the VI training the boy was put through is not the meat of the project. You think this little terrorist incident is your own doing, Solidus? This is the S3 training corner, Colonel. And orchestrated the creation of Shadow Moses. What? Aimed in the president's death, the ninja, the computer virus that mimics Foxdie. Did you really think they were all a coincidence? Ames his own nanomachine for use to shut down his pacemaker. I arranged for the appearance of the ninja as well. As for the president, though Johnson realized what was going on, he played out his allotted part. As for the computer virus, it's a digital counterpart of Foxdie. It was also designed to eliminate every scrap of information regarding the Patriots from GW. Your plan was invalidated even before execution, Solidus. Solidus's eyes flared red as Ocelot continued to speak. What does that mean? Fat Man was a different story. He's one of our people, a sort of examiner we hired to test the boy's progress before letting him tackle the exercise proper. We had to arrange for Stillman's presence to coax the maniac into agreeing. If the boy had allowed the big shelter to be destroyed, this exercise would have ended there. The project has no room for failures. Solidus was seething. What do you mean? Given the right situation, the right story, anyone can be shaped into Snake. Even rookies can fight like men of experience. An instant creation of genius, and this training kernel will provide more than enough data to formulate such a program. You, Dead Cell, Olga, you're all nothing but pawns placed to create the perfect simulation. Solidus, you and the boy were selected because your relationship resembles the one between Solid Snake and Big Boss. Ocelot addressed the woman. Fortune, you and the rest of Dead Cell stand in for the Foxhound squad that Snake took on in Shadow Moses. You're the most impressive collection of freaks outside of Foxhound. We've gone to a lot of trouble to set you up against the boy. That story about purified hydrogen bombs is just the tip of the iceberg. The project was already underway when I sank that tanker along with your old man 2 years ago. Throwing your husband, Colonel Jackson, in the brig was part of it too. You were told that the eradication of Dead Cell 6 months ago was an act of the Patriots. We provoked and encouraged your hatred, and you opted for vengeance, just as we planned. All orchestrated? Fortune asked. Ocelot glanced at Snake, except for the appearance of the real Solid Snake. I wonder now who sent for you. Fortune's lips trembled. All our misfortune was just a part of their project? Her face high, she swung her linear rifle toward Ocelot, but he smoothly fired his revolver before she could pull the trigger. The gunshot resounded loudly, even in the rain. Fortune gasped and looked down at her chest. A whole head appeared between her breasts. How could... Ocelot grinned. You know, Lady Luck. You have nothing that we didn't give you. What? Fortune began to waver, her legs buckling. She clutched her chest with one hand as blood oozed between her fingers. She then sank to one knee. Do you know why no bullet could hit you? It wasn't magic or some new age mumbo-jumbo. Certainly wasn't your psychic talents. It was all staged by the Patriots. She was having trouble breathing. Staged? You were being shielded by the electromagnetic weapons technology that the Patriots developed. Your Dead Cell comrades loved your father and husband. We needed a pathetic wretch like you to keep them focused. You've been our puppet all along, just like Olga. No! You were hamming it up as a tragic heroine thanks to the script the Patriots wrote for you. Pure self-indulgence, absorbed in your own misfortune. You couldn't get enough of the drama. She couldn't believe it. I could have died whenever I wanted to. With that resolve, with a resolve that grew from a hidden fortress within her soul, Fortune managed to bring herself to stand. Ocelot scrutinized her. I thought I got her in the heart. Fortune fired the linear rifle at Ocelot, but the bullets deflected, just as the ammunition had done with her. Ocelot nodded. Now I remember. Your heart's on the way. She fired again, but the bullets flew off in different directions without hitting him. Waste of metal, my dear. Your luck's run out. He smiled and pointed to a small device attached to his belt. This is a little gizmo. There's no such thing as miracles or the supernatural. He says, like his dad's not a whole ass ghost. And also, he's pretending to be possessed by his arm. Like, there's nothing... Like, that is the definition of supernatural, dude. Only cutting-edge technology. He is possessed. Or he's pretending to be possessed. It's not very clear. Like, I mean, he's pretending to be possessed in Metal Gear Solid 4, but is he actually possessed in Metal Gear Solid 2, or is he still pretending to be possessed then? Like, it's not very clear. Solidus growled and fired the P90 at Ocelot. Again, the rounds were deflected. You bastard, Fortune whispered. She coughed blood and fell, gasping for air. Ocelot leaped onto the raised leg and swiftly climbed to the cockpit. Solidus continued to fire at him, but it was no use. Nothing could hit the gunslinger. Now that I have enough data, Ocelot announced from the top of Ray, all I have to do is retrieve Isenol and clean up the refuse from the exercise. With that, he climbed into the cockpit and assumed the controls. Solidus shouted, just try. Ray's machine guns took aim at Solidus, who threw down the P90 and drew swords, one in each hand. You know, like you do. Who needs guns when you've got swords? I mean, the machine gun let loose with a thunderstorm of fire, but Solidus expertly repelled the bullets. One of the rounds happened to ricochet off Snake's handcuffs, jolting him awake. He groaned and shook his fists loose. Failing to hit Solidus. He's just asleep the entire time. Just like taking a nap, you know, like you do. Failing to hit Solidus, Ocelot halted the machine gun fire and opened Faye's missile pod. How's this then? But before he could fire, Fortune managed to stand again and step in front of them all, shielding Raiden and the others from Metal Gear. She extended her hands. Fortune! Raiden cried. You idiot! Solidus yelled. Get the hell away from there! I told you! Ocelot announced through Ray's PA. Your luck's run out. Take your reward. It's all the payload Ray has. Die! Snake shouted. Everybody down! The three men flattened themselves on Arsenal's hull just as Ocelot pulled the triggers. Missiles shot out of Ray toward Fortune and then changed their trajectory. They curved away from Fortune and harmlessly detonated in the air above them. What the? Ocelot said, astonished. Impossible! He fired another set of missiles. Once again, they couldn't hit their target. Snake muttered, She is Lady Luck. Fortune shook her head. My name is Helena Dolph Jackson, the daughter of a proud noble soldier. She coughed blood again and began to fade. I can see my family again. She finally collapsed. Her strength completely waned. It took her mere moments to die. Ocelot aimed a cannon at the three men. Try this instead, he shouted. He reached for the trigger, and his prosthetic right arm suddenly froze. It's not a prosthetic, though, because it's an actual hand. What? No! Not now! The possession took over with uncontrollable power. Ocelot struggled with the arm, but Liquid Snake's spirit was too strong. This time, the entity gained full control over Ocelot's body in seconds. Brothers! Liquid announced with his own voice through Ocelot's vocal cords. Snake was horrified. Liquid, I've been waiting for this! Solidus, too, was incredulous. It can't be! Liquid laughed. I've been inside this arm all along, waiting for the right time to awaken. You're inside, Ocelot? Solidus asked. Yes, a sleeper in the arm of a Patriot spy. Snake felt. It was you 2 years ago. Exactly, I was controlling him. Snake, it was I that leaked information about Arsenal to your partner and got you out here. What? You're the only one who can see me, after all. Now I'm off to bury the Patriots for good. Solidus shouted, raising his fist at Ocelot Liquid. You know where they are? How? Why do you think I chose Ocelot as my host? But before I go, I have a family matter to settle with both of you. There's room for only one snake and one big boss. Solidus screamed a war cry and fired flaming blasts from his tentacles. They missed Ray's cockpit completely. Time to say goodbye, Liquid said. He flipped a switch. I've started Arsenal's navigation program. The course will take you straight into Manhattan. Knight, now standing, shouted, "You planning to crash this thing into New York City? It'll be a full-scale disaster." Solid Snake agreed. Just randomly calls them that. Okay. "Disaster?" Liquid asked. "That has a nice ring to it." They followed Ice and lurch and shift directions. It immediately started to vibrate and pick up speed. The three men were forced to grab hold of protuberances on the hull to keep from being swept off. "Like surfing? It's a good way to go." "Liquid!" Snake shouted. "Stop this thing!" "Hey, Snake, you coming?" With that, Ray rose onto its legs, turned and headed for Arsenal's side. Solid Snake released his grip on Arsenal and ran after Ray. "Snake!" Aiden shouted. Ray leaped off the speeding Arsenal and into the water. Snake managed to grab the thing's tail as it went over the side, stringing him along with it. Oh my god. He's so stupid. Sometimes. Raiden almost got up and took off after them, but he knew he'd never be able to catch up. Arsenal had already sped a great distance from where Ray had submerged. Besides, all he could see now was lower Manhattan looming ahead of them. There was nothing he could do. They were going to collide into the island. Closer, closer. He saw the skyscraper standing tall in the darkness. Arsenal approached the landmass. Faster, faster. They were almost there. They were really gonna crash. Van shut his eyes and screamed. If you like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!